What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video for the First Descendant today, I'm going to show you a HAILEY build that'll help you get Infernal Walker on farm. Super important to farm this boss because not only does he have unique cosmetics, but you can also get every single one of the new gold mods that were introduced in Season 2 from this boss, as well as the research material that you need to be able to upgrade your reactors. So just all in all, a really good boss to kill and to farm, and so therefore I want you to be able to do it as efficient as possible. And with this build you'll be able to kill him once every minute, which is a pretty damn good setup right there. So we're going to jump right into Descendant Modules, and this is a slightly tankier version of this build, but it's also to help you acclimate to the fight itself. As you get better at fighting this boss, you can start peeling some of these survivability options away and becoming even more glass cannon, so you can deal a massive amount of damage. So first things first, our survivability options are going to be increased HP and HP amplification. Both of these give us max HP. HP amplification loses a little bit of shield to us, but that's okay. And then we're going to use one more other survivable option, which is spear and shield. This gives us defense, but also a small amount of skill power. That is our defensive setup right there. The next thing we want to do is we want to work on the cooldowns of our abilities. Storm Snare is on a 50-second cooldown and Zenith is on a 30. We need to get that down so that we can get to the point where we can do a 1-minute kill. So for that, the simplest way is just to pop in something like Nimble Fingers, all right? And then we can use the focus mods. Focus on Chill over here. We can pop that sucker in, and we can also put in something like Focus on Singular. So both of these, one gives us chill skill power and some skill cooldown, and the other one gives us singular skill power, modifier, and some cooldown. Both of these are, of course, affecting our damage because we are chill and singular, so that's good. And now we have a decent amount of cooldown as well, because we're sitting at a 31-second cooldown for Storm Snare and an 18.7-second cooldown for Zenith, which is sexy. Next, we're going to work on crit hit and crit damage, because both of those stats are super important for us, because we want to be at 100% crit when we attack the boss, which of course we do by activating our third ability, which is Cold Fury, and then getting 16 stacks on it, and then we're at 100% and we're good to go. So the two purple mods that we use here are Frontlines. Okay, firstly, Frontlines gives us skill critical hit damage and critical hit rate, and then we also use something called Emergency Measures. This one over here. This is kind of like the reverse of Frontline, so this gives more hit rate and less damage, but these two together are a super good package. Now, at this point in time, there's a slight choice that you need to make, or let's say there's something that you need to check first, and that is whether you are crit capped or not. Now, I have a gold reactor with critical hit damage and critical hit rate on, which means I don't need to add any additional critical hit rate modules because I am capped. I can easily check this by just going boom, activating this, letting it run to 16 stacks and checking in here, and as long as I hit 100% here, we are good to go and off to the races. Now, in the case of you having a different reactor to me that does not have critical hit rate on, you might need to add one more mod so that you can get to 100. This mod is this one, Skill Insight. So in my case, I don't need to add this. In your case, you might need to add this. If, for example, you have a critical hit damage and a Colossus roll or something like that in a reactor. But the main point is shuffle around and make sure that you have enough crit that you're on 100%. That is the objective here. In my case, I don't need to do this, but I will add in skill critical damage from skill concentration, because that's just more damage for us on top. And then our last mod is a golden mod, and that is Dangerous Ambush. This is a really good mod, because if we drive the boss into a stun state by shooting the plates and shit off him, then we're going to be able to capitalize on additional damage to the boss, which is really fantastic. And with the strength of the shots that you're putting into the boss with this build, you can knock him into a stun state, which is fantastic. So that's our setup right there. This is the one that you're also seeing me use in the footage in the background. And like I said, as you get better at playing it, you can potentially look at maybe replacing HP amplification with some more DPS or something like that if you want to, and if you want to be even more glass cannony. Next, we get to weapons, and I have two choices for you. If you are a traditionalist you will go with piercing light. And this is the build for piercing light. So we're going to start off with the standard sort of like, you know, trifecta, I guess. So we've got rifling and we've got action and reaction, which both of these give us, of course, you know, massive amounts of firearm attack in. Then we want to get ourselves some crit and crit hit damage with better insight and better concentration. We do also want to expand our magazine. And then for the rest of the stuff, we're going to focus on developing. Well, actually, we're going to put in one more magazine. There we go. So it's important that you also know that essentially whichever weapon you have in your hand is a stat stick, but a lot of the more of this stuff carry over than, for example, a stat stick for like Lepic or Freyna, for example. So we are fully developing the weapon to be as powerful as possible, because the weapon's actual damage will translate into the damage to the boss, as well as things like magazine size matter and, you know, stuff like that. So this is super important that you do build it in this way. It's not as easy as like a Freyna or Lepic stat stick that you can only throw 4 mods in, because there's actually more of the weapon that translates into damage for you. So next we're going to just go ahead and put in something called focus fire. Focus fire just gives us even you know, a little bit more weak point damage, as well as firearm critical hit damage. We are shooting to shoot weak points with this build, so it absolutely makes sense to focus on that. We're also dropping in concentration priority, which gives us a massive amount of critical hit damage as well. Even though it influences our reload, this doesn't matter because our reload is not impacted by us using Zenith. Then we are also using weak point sight, which is a blue mod that increases our damage to weak points, also super sexy. And last but not least, that means that we are also going to use a nice golden mod, which also gives us additional weak point damage on a weak point hit. So this is our full kit for classic sniper HAILEY, and it works really well. The weapon is pretty much insane. And again, like if we go here and we engage our 3 and we go here, boom boom boom, you're gonna see this is gonna stack all the way up to, you guessed it, 100. All right, so that is our snipe HAILEY setup, and this works really well. I do believe I've shown some footage of me using that as well in the background. So yeah, you're good to go if you want to use piercing light. Now if you are a Giga Chad and you want to, you know, live on the edge of damage, then you can use Perforator. Perforator, technically speaking, is HAILEY's best in slot as a weapon for sniping. Now, this seems counterintuitive because it's a fucking pistol, or a hand cannon rather, but the bottom line is Perforator has access to a mod which makes it better because you get more zenith shots out of it, regardless of the fact that you stack you know, magazine mods on both sides. So let's build the Perforator. Now with the Perforator, we are going to go again the standard, you know, sort of like the way we begin every goddamn gun. So rifling reinforcement, and then we've got action and reaction. Dude, these are probably the two most like used mods in the game. This and maybe HP increase, I guess. All right, so we've got these in here. Next, we are going to just expand our magazine. So same thing we were doing basically with our sniper rifle. We are going to put concentrate support ammo in there, and then we are going to start focusing on developing crit hit and crit damage. So you guessed it, better insight goes in there and better concentration, both of those. And then once again, we toss in focus fire. Boom. All right, then for our last mods, we are again going to go, and you can see the setup is pretty much almost exactly the same as what we were doing for the sniper rifle. And then lastly, we also need insight focus. Boom. So concentration priority, again, giving us a massive amount of critical hit damage. And even though you have this reload time modifier deficit here, but it doesn't affect us. And then we have inside focus, which gives us critical hit and critical hit damage, which is really, really cool. Now, for our last mod, we are going to add this mod that I said that is unique to Perforator, or rather unique to hand cannons that sniper rifles don't have access to. Honestly, if sniper rifles had this shit, then you know, piercing light would be the best. But it is called payout. So payout over here, all right, What it says is when landing a firearm weak point attack, which you're going to be doing in any case, you do not consume any rounds for 3 seconds. And it's because of this that you're able to get more zenith shots out than you would be able to do with piercing light. Again, like I said, regardless of how many magazine mods you basically put on. So the point is, once you shoot and hit a weak point with this, you kind of like just go ham and shoot out as many shots as you can in those 3 seconds, and then you'll still be able to finish out the rest of whatever's in your magazine, and you're going to get about four additional at least shots into the enemy, which is really, really good, and that is going to help you deal a massive amount of additional damage to the boss. Quickly just touching on Reactor, because I already showed this. But Reactor, of course, you want Frozen Singularity, which is chill and singular, because those affect Storm, Snare, and Zenith. Again, like I said, I have critical hit damage and critical hit rate on here, but you can absolutely look for something like critical hit damage and Colossus damage, which is great. Or you can focus on, critical hit damage. If you have critical hit damage and, like additional singular damage or additional chill damage or anything like that. But the point is, you want to be focusing on damage stats. You don't want, anything like skill cost reduction or any of that bullshit, because the point here is you're trying to build something that pushes as much damage downrange. Now, speaking of damage downrange, of course, that means then that we are using 4-piece Slayer, because 4-piece Slayer gives us that nice skill power boost there, which is fantastic and kind of like makes it the best in slot if you're just trying to deal raw damage. Now, it does also help if you have decent substats on your Slayer, more specifically on your sensor. Max MP and MP recovery in combat is really, really good, because the point is we are going to rotate the boss, so you want to be able to regen at least some of your MP, because there's not going to be any blue bricks for you to pick up, so that you can again engage your third ability and essentially again hit Zenith. Now, it's not impossible to get by without max MP, but you absolutely need MP recovery in combat. It doesn't have to be gold. As you can see, I have purple, but I would say purple and up is kind of like what you should be aiming for. Otherwise, it's also just going to make you have to run around a lot longer while you wait for the mana to come back. Now, before I let you go, I actually wanted to just walk you through one of these kills so you can see it exactly the entire minute. But right at the beginning, you kind of like just activate your 3. As soon as the boss is ready to go, I hit him with the Storm Snare right off the rip, and then essentially just pump a whole bunch of Zenith shots into the boss. As you can see here, what's really good is if you can force him into this position, because this is a massive amount of free damage that you're getting. And then basically I'm going to dip, and I'm just going to go around and I'm going to wait until my cooldowns essentially wear off. Now you can see the boss is already half HP, well, all his shield is gone and half his HP. And so the point is, now all you do is you just essentially rotate the battlefield and get him to come after you. And as soon as you're ready to go, cooldown wise, you just engage again and you just start pinging him right in the middle from afar again. Now, the good news here is you have 3 lives, right? So even if you fuck up here, like look how close I am to death there. Even if you were to die there, the point is you have 2 more attempts that you can essentially use to knock the boss out. But this was, I think, a 44-second kill or something like that. And the point is, as long as you're under a minute, this is an incredibly effective way to farm and efficient as hell. And plus, you can just get all of those mats and everything, which means that you'll be upgrading your gear and going apeshit in no time. That's it for the video. I hope this helps you. There's a Viesa one coming later in the week as well, so if you prefer to use Viesa, hold out for that. I got you, baby. But other than that, as always, fucking cheers.